This tutorial talks about high dynamic range imaging. High dynamic range imaging means that you are getting more tones in your image by using multiple images or multiple versions of your image and combining them together to get details in all the highlights and details in all the shadows. You often need to use this technique when you have extreme lighting conditions, very, very sunny days, very, very dark shoots, like evening shoots. So this is one way to handle that and to get details out of everything. If we come in here and look, let me get this window down. I have 3 shots of the same scene. And if I look at this one, you can see there's virtually no detail at all in the marquee here. So this one is shot so I'm getting detail in the darker areas of the image. The next one is kind of an average, kind of getting more of the sky in there, more of the street, kind of at the normal range. And this one is shooting so that we've got the detail in this area of the marquee. We've got that detail there that we lost with the higher exposure, the more open exposure. So what we want to do is combine these 3. Now if I talked about HDR before in a class that you were in, this is a new technique. They've improved it in Camera Raw, so I want to go over that. I'm going to open these 3 files in Camera Raw. Even though they're JPEGs, all I have to do is go to Command or Control R or File, Open in Camera Raw. I'm in Bridge. So I'm going to come in here. You can make changes if you want, but I'm going to select all 3 because I've already made some changes in them prior to this. And I'm going to go down to Merge to HDR this time instead of Sync Settings. Merge to HDR will look at each one, and it's going to set them up and give me a preview of them with aligning the images and auto-toning, meaning kind of bringing them into what would be an average computer-generated image. So it's a little lighter than I want, but that's okay at this point. You have a de-ghosting option here. If I had people walking through the scene or something was moving in here, those people are going to be at different spots. If I'm on a tripod and everything else is still and the people are moving, the de-ghosting option is something you want to look at. That will, instead of showing me 3 different versions of the people walking through, that will bring it down to 1. Use the lowest setting possible and look at the preview. You probably will get away with low. If not, go up a little bit, but don't immediately jump to high. That's going to eliminate a lot of the effects of the HDR processing or the high dynamic range processing. So I'm going to leave this off since everything is kind of sitting here. I'm going to click the merge button and then let it do its work. What it's going to do is make a new file for me, and I'm going to have it put it in that same folder. And you can see down here, I now have it hasn't closed out the Camera Raw dialog box. It has made a new image down here and added it to the Camera Raw dialog box. So I have a digital negative here. That's what a DNG file is. Now I can come in here and I can change the exposure. Meanwhile, I get that night look, but I get the exact information on everything else. I can zoom in here. You can see the driver very, very clearly in this, whereas you couldn't see her at all in this version of it, just a little shadow of her. I can also see the marquee right there and read the lettering on it. So I'm getting all the detail from what was very dark and what was very light into one image with the ability to still adjust it further if I need to. I can up the clarity if I need to, bring just a little bit more sharpness in there if I want. Just be careful with night scenes because you may get noise in the dark areas pretty easily. That is how you merge images in HDR. Remember and it's fairly new that they were doing it in Camera Raw this well. They've changed the algorithm. I used to do it in Photoshop, and now I try this method first, and it seems to work very well. Remember, if possible, shoot on a tripod so that everything is as still as possible. It will auto-align your images, but it does a better job if you're shooting on a tripod. If things are moving, like there's a breeze blowing, a flag's blowing, you're going to need the deghosting option probably. Remember, you can do it more than once. You can try different permutations. So you've got lots of different options here, and it's a really cool way to surmount insurmountable lighting circumstances when you're out there and things are just too bright or too dark and you can't get the detail in both ends of things. This is a really great way to handle that. By the way, I've only got 3 frames here. Don't stop at 3 frames. This is just to show you, so it would work fairly quickly. You can shoot up to 20, 30, 40 frames of the same thing, and shoot it at, if your computer can handle it, even at 16-bit images, and bring those all together for maximum detail, maximum tonal range. That will give you a big boost in the amount of information you're getting in every bit of the tonality of this image. You'll get details in the dark, details in the light, and lots of nice smooth tones in between. So don't be shy about shooting lots of frames. Use a tripod. Change the exposure by a stop or a half stop for each one, and give yourself a broad range of exposures to work with. And that is it for HDR for today.